and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to a glorious sunrise here in the African bushveld. My name is Brent Leo Smith and this is Safari Live. Ready?
Standing by. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
What an absolutely splendid morning here in the Greater Kruger National Park. It is going to be a scorcher today, but it's still a little bit chilly so far. It's a 60, I've forgotten, but it's 18 degrees Celsius, 68 Fahrenheit. 65 Fahrenheit, I do apologize. And we are right down in the southern section of Djuma, and VM and I have decided, who VM's on camera with me today, that we're going to head down to the east and see what's happening on Cheetah Plains. Also, we're going to attempt again to beat the record that was set by Byron and myself of 38 bird species in one safari. Fingers crossed, maybe we'll have some luck. But while we've been looking for birds, we've been following some male lion tracks. Try to find a clear one for you. There we go. I can see the male lion has walked down the road here. Unfortunately, we're probably about 100 meters from the edge of our southern boundary, so there's a strong possibility the lion's gone off to visit the Styx Pride. Who knows, maybe we'll follow his tracks all the way from Djuma to Cheetah Plains. Now, I just want to get out into the open here because there is a glorious burning orb of light that is about to come completely over the eastern horizon. There we go, look at that. Absolutely stunning morning. It's going to be a good morning for the birds and hopefully the big cats. Remember, you can ask us questions by using the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter, or pop us an email to questions@WildEarthTV. What wonders await? That's the wonderful thing about a live safari, we don't know. But I do hear the first of our birds for today. And there the male lion continues straight into Little Gowrie, so maybe we won't be tracking him all the way to Cheetah Plains. But I've heard, where is he now? Very noisy. Now, where is he being noisy is the next question. There he is. Well, there we go. Christine Storm said she really enjoyed yesterday's birding drive and was hoping for another one this morning. And there it is. A yellow-billed hornbill is our first bird of the morning, giving its morning calls and displays. And we listen carefully, there's a lot of birds around this morning, so hopefully we can beat yesterday's 22 to get to that magical number 38, or 39 in fact, might be quite the challenge. But VM and I like a challenge, and also that's one of the reasons we're heading down towards Cheetah Plains. Well, I also heard a report that there might be some cheetah, but we might get a few different species on those short grass plains. As we keep searching and heading east towards the rising sun, let's say good morning to Byron.
Good morning, everybody. So good in a vehicle. I enjoyed the walking yesterday, but to enjoy driving is Jean-Andre with me. It's a wonderful morning. We haven't had any animal activity, but it's good. We probably head over in there for a while, for about a 2. So I'm looking forward to seeing what it's looking like now, and hopefully some activity around there. So that'll be our plan for this morning. And I haven't seen any.
Oh, it looks like Wendy's got a gremlin early on. Hopefully it doesn't last and they get it sorted quick as a flash. So you're back with VM and myself as we head east. Now we're coming down towards the Mawati River Valley. So maybe there's some early rising birds down here this morning. Well, there's one. Now, if we're going to break this record, we can't pass up even the LBJs. And there we go. There's a little LBJ. Now, LBJ, off he goes, in birding terms, is a little brown job. Now, out of all... A little bit down, Vim. A little bit to the right. Up a bit. There he is. Now, of all the LBJs, this is our most common, and it is called a rattling sister killer. So he's got a little red cap. And far more prominent in the early morning when it's a bit cold, when all his feathers are fluffed up. Now, the one very positive thing about doing birding is you actually spend a lot of time with your car off and you hear lots of things you might not normally, and I can hear a squirrel alarm calling down here. So let's just freewheel down the hill. Now, last tracks of Karula, we're heading south around Philemon's Dip, but I'm hoping she's still on Djuma. But Herbie and Jamie are going to be out a little later, and they're going to go follow up on those tracks on foot. Okay. So that squirrel could be alarming at many things, including a bird of prey. It's always good to just double check. Here we go. Sounds like quite the bird party happening up ahead. Listen to all these incredible sounds. Oh, the dawn chorus is fantastic this morning. Okay, let's have a look here. Where did that little one fly? Oh, he's disappeared. Okay, well, let's move forward to the louder birds. Where are you? We can hear green wood hoopers cackling away. There we go. VM has found them. Oh no, that is a... What is that, VM? What have you found there? Just a Birchall starling. Oh, there we go. Well, it still counts. Oh, we've got another little one up in this acacia flitting about. Looks... Yeah. In the centre there. Let's have a look what we've got there. A little bit to the left. Did he fly out? Dag nabbit. It's... Ah, I know what it is. I can hear him. Okay, we're just gonna... Okay, there. It's gonna... So, going. We're gonna get him. Oh, he's too small. But there you go. That can you believe that little disappearing act was a cardinal woodpecker? But I don't think we can count that one. That's pushing our luck. Oh, he's gonna land. He's gonna land. That's the one I saw earlier. Brew Shrike. On the top there. Well done, VM. Right on him. There he is. Beautiful little bird, the Brew Shrike. Has a call that sounds somewhat like an old telephone. And as kids we used to call them telephone birds. Now that is not the telephone call, that is a contact call looking for another shrike. But there we go, we've got a few new species. Please remember to keep track of the numbers for me. Maths is not my strong point. We're going to move on, and it seems like Byron is going to try say hello to you again.
Alright, let's try this again, everyone. Good morning. No, we lost signal there, and I know the signal was very, very bad, so hopefully it's fine now. We've got a beautiful black-bellied bustard running around here. And bustard is spelled B-U-S-T-A-R-D. I'll just try and move forward a little bit. My name is Byron, and on camera this morning is Jean-Andre. So we're trying this all again, so new start for us. We had some kudu walking through the bush earlier, just away from us. But I want to try to show you more of this little bustard because it's been giving its territorial call. Oh, there it is. Hang on, maybe through here. Just in between those branches there, might a little bit forward. It's hiding from us. Hang on, we'll show it to you now. You go back. There it is. You got him. There we go. Well camouflaged bird. And they are ground nesting birds, and they've got a beautiful call. I'm hoping he does it again for us. Just watch him. There we go. Wonderful. The black belly bustard call. See that neck extend and then that little popping sound at the end. Now some people call it a champagne bird because of that popping sound, but what a wonderful little treat this morning. Have it running around and foraging. Very beautiful bird. So as I was saying earlier, our plan for this morning is we're going to head towards Buffelshoek Dam and see what animal activity we have around there. I haven't been to Buffelshoek Dam in the last 2 weeks, so I'm curious to see how full it is, what the water level is looking like. And we'll possibly, I think because Brent has started this birding, I think we might join in a little bit and help add to the numbers for everybody. So there's a black-bellied bustard for everyone so long. And let's see what else we can find. It's a beautiful morning, a lovely, lovely morning. Beautiful sunrise, bit of cloud cover, and we were speaking about it earlier. It's so nice to have a bit of cloud cover with the sunrise, just because it adds to the color and the effect, I think, a little bit. Sunrise and sunset. Look at that. Isn't that spectacular? Just going to stop here for a second so we can really enjoy that sunrise. Really, really beautiful morning. We've got a red-chested cuckoo calling in the distance. I'm not sure if you'd be able to hear it. Beautiful. What a way to start Monday. Beautiful morning in the bush. For us, every day is pretty much the same. Doesn't matter what day it is. We get to drive around and view wonderful animals and sunrises and sunsets and all the bird life. So It's definitely better than a desk job, that's for sure. Alright, let us continue and start trying to find some animals. I haven't seen any signs of the Nkuhuma Pride. I do think they've possibly headed south, either south or just further west from where they were yesterday, because we drove down and to where they were yesterday afternoon or evening, and we didn't have any sign of them. So they have moved off, and I know Brent had tracks of the males heading south, so it's a possibility that the whole pride moved south. It's amazing how green the bush is looking at the moment. It's fantastic. You know, we've really struggled with the drought this year, and I think more rain. Need a lot more rain. And I don't know, well, what was it, 3 weeks ago, we had a wonderful storm around here, and a lot of these mud wallows all filled up, and I see they dry again. So it just shows you that even with the rainfall that we had, we still need a lot more to replenish that water table, which I'm sure has dropped drastically because of the drought. But everything's looking lush and green at the moment, but we will still need a lot more rain. It's been a very harsh, dry season throughout South Africa, or Southern Africa, not just here. A lot of areas have been struggling with the drought. Just constantly checking the road the whole time while we're driving, just making sure that we don't miss any tracks. It is difficult at times, and we do miss them occasionally. But just trying to see if there's not perhaps a leopard track or a lion track, any predator activity, maybe wild dogs, who knows, wouldn't that be great? Wild dogs this morning, that would be a lovely surprise. Okay, I'm going to turn down here. The last time I was here, the last stint I did, and I'm trying to think, it was about 3 weeks ago, we had wild dogs twice within a week, but not on Djuma. They were just on our neighboring properties, so we could hear the other vehicles racing around trying to view them, but we unfortunately didn't get to see them. So, well, I didn't. So hopefully the wild dogs pop up again one of these days. That would be great. Thought I saw something interesting. No, I think just some antelope tracks walking through the sand. Occasionally what happens is in the thicker sand, while the antelope are walking, it could be impala for example, while they're walking, because the sand is a lot deeper, more thicker, as they lift their foot or their hoof, they drag their toes or the tips of the hooves a little bit, leaves a bit of a little streaky line in the ground. It looks quite different. It's not something you see regularly. I'm just having a quick look to see what it was. Possibly it looked like an impala track. Just an impala standing in the thick sand, and as it lifts and moves its foot, the foot is dragged through the thick sand a little bit. So it gives this wonderful little drag effect. These lines in the sand. Alright, so approaching Buffelshoek Dam. Let's see what's here. Oh, the water level. Let's just have a look as we go around the corner. Water levels dropped a bit from when I was last here. Some cuckoos calling. Sounds like Jacobin cuckoo or the valence. I always get a bit confused with the two. They do sound similar. I think that was a Jacobin cuckoo that was just calling in the background. Sounded like an African cuckoo too. Now there are plenty of cuckoos that have just migrated south for the summer. and we have been seeing a lot of them, which is great, but they are very elusive little birds. A lot of bird calls around the waterhole, but Lebek, you'd like to know which part of Africa was hit the hardest from the drought? I'm not too sure, to be honest. I do think, South Africa did struggle a lot in this drought. A lot of areas, especially areas with farmlands and that, they had to bring in water, they had to bring in food for their animals. It was hit very, very hard. Oh, it looked like a cuckoo flying over, but again, very, very difficult to try catch one on camera for you. But look at that beautiful view. Now, I wonder what's happened to our resident hippo. Not sure if he has been around. He's possibly or feeding or maybe headed to another dam or waterhole. But what a wonderful view. What have we got there? Oh, a little terrapin now. It's just a terrapin causing ripples in the water. I wouldn't be surprised if there are a few fish in here too. Oh, I just heard some unhappy elephant in the distance. I don't think you would have heard that. It was quite far. Would love to find some elephants. I might head down into that direction, or into that area, that direction where that call came, which was basically southeast of where we are at the moment. Elephant call. So I'll probably head down there. I'm surprised not to see anything at the water this morning. It's lovely driving around like this in the mornings and just listening to all the birds and the sounds of the bush, and especially on these cool, fresh mornings. And it's very exciting because I drive around and think to myself, you never know what you're going to see. And just having a look in these drainage lines, for example, just off to the right. It's a nice area just to scout around and perhaps see if we can't find a leopard hiding in there. Leopard are elusive cats and they like these drainage lines, these thicker areas that they can move through. Franklin calling. And Debbie, you just gave us an update. You said 2 zebra had an argument. Was it zebra? Did I hear that correctly? Oh, 2 hippos. Sorry, I didn't hear that. Okay, so Debbie, you said 2 hippo had an argument at the Djuma Dam last night. That's interesting. Wow. Now, what often happens is you get these hippo that get pushed out of a pod, so that would be a group of hippo, or an area perhaps in a river or a dam where there's a lot of them, and usually what happens is the dominant male will chase off a younger male, especially if he's trying to challenge for territory. He will chase off that male, and that male will then have to find a small dam like this Buffelshoek Dam or that Djuma Dam. I know there has been a hippo around there, and what happens then is you might get other nomadic males wandering around and looking to perhaps move into that. Oof, it's quite a sten. There's a buffalo carcass, that's why. Or another sign of drought. Look at this, this carcass I know has been here for a while. I'm surprised not much is fed on it. His skin looks pretty much intact. And Karen, you were just telling us what happened last night at the dam, that there was a female hippo with a calf, and a male tried to join, and the female managed to push the male off. So that's very, very interesting. And I think all that was probably because the male was nomadic and trying to get into a water hole, and that female was most likely trying to protect that young calf. Not sure what the male's intentions were and why he was coming to that area. And hippo can get very, very aggressive with one another. They've got huge teeth. I mean, some of their teeth can get up to about 30 or 40 centimeters in length, especially with the big males, and they've got very sharp, two-pointed sharp teeth at the bottom jaw, and these large incisors, or they are incisors that can cause some serious damage. Large tusks that can really, really cut and wound one another, and occasionally kill one another. I have seen hippos badly wounded and actually killed because of those wounds. And as I was saying, usually it might be males fighting for dominance or fighting for a little water hole and trying to keep other males out, so they can get very aggressive with each other. But it's not unlikely that a female protecting its calf would get aggressive and try and keep a male out too. See, and there's so much that goes on at night in the bush that we often miss when we're all resting and sleeping. There's definitely a lot of nocturnal animals wandering around and getting up to mischief, and things like that with the hippo fighting and moving around, because they move around and feed at night. So that's one of the reasons why they do meet up and bump into each other on a regular basis in the evenings. It's because when they're moving around and feeding at night, they'll probably move into similar areas where there's good grass. So they do meet up, and perhaps heading towards a water hole that could also cause some conflict. So we are going to continue our search for those elephants that I heard. Love to find them. I'm going to see where about they are, or see if we can find them. While I do that, Brent has just got onto Cheetah Plains. Let's head across to him and see what he's got that side.
Well, we're on Cheetah Plains, passing up. Well, it's not a cat, it's a komatsu. Doing road repairs and repairs on the water holes before big rains come. A lot of people think the big rains are coming. I'm not so certain. I do have to apologize. As that last bird, I realized it was not a brew truck, which earlier.
So Brent's obviously having some signal issues. Now listen here, everybody, there's a wonderful bird calling. Let's see if you can hear it. It's called a Steeling's wren warbler. Trying to listen carefully. I'll tell you why, because there's another bird in this area called a nediki, and the call is very similar. And they are so difficult to find, everyone. I'm just listening carefully, but it's got a beautiful call. So what I'll do is I'll show you both birds, and usually I don't get confused with them, because the one does sound like it's got an additional syllable in there somewhere. Okay, so Let me show you quickly what these two birds look like. So the Nat.Geo is, where is it now? There we go. Look at that little bird. And you can imagine it's very difficult to identify. Little brown bird, not very, very colorful, very small, but they have got a distinct call. And often when you hear them in the distance, you can pick them out quite easily with that call. And then the call that I'm saying sounds similar, and some people might argue with me, but I do think they are very similar. Is a Steeling's wren warbler, this little bird over here. Look at that beautiful barring underneath. Also fairly, well, I wouldn't say colourful, beautiful brown and that bit of white, but not as colourful as some of the other birds, so they are quite difficult to see. It's now stopped calling. I have got my bird app with me too, which is quite nice. So I'd like to just play the calls for you because they are very interesting to hear. And let's see if I'm right or wrong with the calls sounding similar. Occasionally these apps do sound very different to what the bird actually sounds like in real life. So let me see. Let me play this for you quickly. This is the Nat.Geo, everyone. Yeah, so according to this app, I think I'm right. I think that is definitely the Steeling's wren warbler that I heard. This seems to have more of a metallic. See, now that sounds similar to what we heard earlier. But let me play the wren warbler for you quickly. No, it's definitely the wren warbler that I could hear, I'm sure. Yeah, I think so. I think that was the wren warbler that we heard. Just an additional little syllable or two in there. But quite high-pitched calls. It's difficult with these little brown birds, these LBJs, little brown jobs. But it's always nice to listen out and get to know the calls. And it helps if you can see the bird. And then usually I find you don't forget it very easily. But I generally don't get those two confused. I do think that was the Steeling's wren warbler that we heard, and I've been looking for it. I've been hearing it around for the past month, and I just can't find it. It's so difficult to see. Yeah, there's still one calling, and the Nat.Geo is just a little bit shorter, but also quite secretive. Don't see them very often either. Do really have to look out very carefully when you are birding. We were saying, 3 weeks ago we were driving around. I was driving around and I was thinking it's amazing how wonderful the game viewing's been, because we were lucky, this area, this part of Djuma, and that had a little bit of rainfall, or a little bit more rainfall than the other surrounding properties. So what happened was all the animals were congregating here, because this is the only place where there was green food and new green grass that sprouted, and a lot of water around in these little pans and mud wallows. But now what's happened is everywhere is starting to get green, which is fantastic. But what that does is it then causes the animals to move around a lot more. So they'll move over onto other neighboring properties, and I think that's possibly why I've just noticed the difference driving around. I haven't seen as much wildlife, or the numbers rather haven't been that great. There was a lot of buffalo before I went away. A lot of buffalo around, and that's one of the reasons why the Nkuhuma Pride were doing so well in hunting the buffalo. But don't seem to see as many at the moment. Speaking of buffalo, look at this. There we go. See, sometimes you need to put things out into the universe, I think, and the bush will deliver. looking like they're in a little better condition, these buffalo, from the last few that I saw 2-3 weeks ago. Hopefully putting on some weight again. Raisa, you wanted to know, does the Steeling's wren warbler have another name? No, it's just known as the Steeling's wren warbler. I think Raisa, I think the old name, I think they included the word barred in there. I think it was Steeling's barred wren warbler. So that might be what you're thinking of in terms of another name. I think it was Steeling's barred wren warbler, but now it's just known as the Steeling's wren warbler. Nice little surprises. Buffalo are moving off now. And just two youngsters. Don't see any others around at the moment. There's a good surprise. There's some big elephant tracks in the road. I'll see if I can find a clear one for you. So we've got elephant tracks. Now we just need to find the owners of the tracks. Just want to see. Oh, there's a little bump here that's going to make it difficult, but let me show you. Chandra, I wonder, are you able to get over there? Is that alright? That little track over there, just in the middle there. Let me just jump off quickly. I just want to show you something. Oh, nice to stretch the legs a little bit. Alright, have a look here. So here is a beautiful big elephant track around here. And what this elephant has done is it's actually stepped off and walked through the bush this way. And here you've got a very clear scrape mark. Can you see that, everyone? And what's happened is this elephant has basically just come and stood here and kicked the sand. And what it's done is it's tried to loosen some of these little shrubs, and it's probably picked one or two and fed on them, and that's what it's done here. Oh wow, something interesting. A lot of interesting little things going on here, and a beautiful little flower. I just want to show you these. Alright, so firstly we've got this beautiful strip of stars, these white flowers, beautiful little white flowers, just off to the side of the road. And then something else I'd like to show you. Let's put that down there. Have a look at this, everyone. Can you see that? Here we go, look at that. Now that is a giant land snail baby. That's a small little one. Look at that, but beautiful shell. And that's from a little snail. Isn't that incredible to find these little snails out here? And they do get very large. Some of the larger ones will get to about that size in my hand. Large shells, so very, very big. This is a beautiful, beautiful little spiral shell from a giant land snail, small one. It's lovely. Nice to see these little things out here too. Just from stopping and looking at an elephant track, just heard some of those buffalo still moving through the bushes behind us, but they're not that close. They're probably about 50 meters or so away from us. Now those little shells, once the snails, or if the snails have died or been eaten by something, the larger shells could potentially become homes for something else. Maybe even a little one like that. You'd get get spiders, scorpions, possibly moving into those shells and using them as homes. So definitely, and other smaller insects. So it is interesting to see how animals adapt and use what they can out here for potential homes. And the best example is something like this off to our right, this wonderful termite mound. And you know, it's incredible how many different animals use these termite mounds. Oh, and have a look here. Hang on, let me see if I can see something. Looks like this might be an active termite mound. Let me jump out here quickly. Oh, it is indeed. Oh, wow. Okay, there's actually a lot going on here, everyone. I've got a lot to show you. Okay, so firstly, let me just see if I can try and get a little termite to show you. There's some soldiers right at the entrance of the hole over here. I don't want to disturb them too much, but see if I can get one out. A little bit shy. But what I find fascinating is how these termites, they regulate the temperature within the termite mound. So what's happening currently beneath me is this whole termite mound is full of workers that are constantly working, bringing food in and out of the termite mound and feeding the rest of the termites within the mound. And at the moment, what they are doing is, by them working and moving around, they're creating thermo or heat via thermoregulation, so with all the activity. Now this termite mound consists of a number of channels and chimneys, and what that does is it allows the air to circulate through the termite mound. So occasionally they'll open the hole to circulate fresh air through and also help regulate the temperature. They regulate it at about 32 to 34 degrees Celsius. And if I put my hand over here, because the temperature outside is much cooler, if I put my hand over here at the moment, I can actually feel that warmth coming out of this termite mound, which is incredible. Can feel the heat coming out of there. And if the day warms up a lot, which it probably will, you'll find they'll probably close this up to then help regulate the temperature within, keep it cooler inside. So it is amazing. And what I was getting at is how different animals use these termite mounds. So once the termites eventually move out, you probably get an aardvark, because an aardvark would dig in here to feed on the termites. Then once the aardvark is moved off, you'd get a warthog coming in, wild dogs, hyenas. All those animals use abandoned termite mounds as den sites. But something else that's interesting over here, have a look at this. This is fascinating. Now, just trying to think what would have come and fed here. Now have a look here, everybody. Look at these scorpion remains. Jean-Louis, let me put it on the dash for you, rather. Let me put my hand up here. Oh, sorry. Look at that. So, I've managed to find a scorpion hole over there, which looks like something has come and fed on it, but it's very interesting because the exoskeleton has been left behind. And usually what happens is if a little mongoose or something comes and digs up a scorpion and feeds on it, but look at the size of that pincer. It's a very, very large pincer. Look at that. Now, usually what happens if they do feed on them, and the best example is a meerkat, and we don't have meerkats out here, but I've seen them dig up scorpions many times before, and it's incredible to see. So what they do is they dig up the scorpions, they use their sense of smell, find out where the little burrow is, the scorpion burrow, and they'll dig a hole about this deep to dig out these scorpions. And they literally grab it by the tail, and they'll bite the tail to break it so that the sting, that very, very sharp sting, and look at the size of that sting on the scorpion tail. Isn't that incredible? Look at that. So that could cause some serious pain, and and what happens is they bite the tail, break the tail, so that the scorpion's unable to sting them, and then they'll actually feed on the scorpion, starting with the tail and finishing with the pincers. They'll eat everything. Now, I'm not too sure what actually dug the scorpion up, but I could see it was clearly dug up, possibly fed on part of the tail. I can see it has been crushed. There's been a section of it that has been crushed and chewed on over there, and then also the pincer that's been chewed off. So whatever it was, if it was perhaps maybe a little white-tailed mongoose, again, I'm not too sure, maybe something like that has dug up the scorpion, fed on the body, mainly the body. There's a lot of protein, they're rich in protein, fed on it, and then continued and left a little bit of the sting and this pincer left behind. But that is fascinating. So there's so much going on these termite mounds. And Debbie, you asked, does the warm air coming out of the termite mound have a smell? Let me actually smell quickly. I don't think so. I don't want to get my nose too close in case a little termite pinches me. Oh, you know what, Debbie, it's a very, that rich, earthy smell. Now, I'm trying to think. The best way to describe it is perhaps if you've watered your garden, for example. While you're watering your garden and the soil's very, very wet, if you dig up some of that soil, you get that rich, earthy smell. That's exactly what this smells like at the moment. So it is a lovely, lovely smell. Hang on, some of these... There we go. I will put him back, but I just wanted to show you. How's that, Chandra? Look at that beautiful soldier termite. He's got incredibly sharp pincers. He's just moving around. There we go. Look at those sharp pincers, and they use that to protect the termite mound. So the soldiers all patrol around the edge and the hole of the termite mound to protect them from any potential predators, something that might come and try and feed on it or feed on them. So that's exactly what we've got here. Beautiful little soldier. And trust me, these little pincers are incredibly sharp. Usually what I try to do with guests is I'll show them, if you grab one of these little guys, and I'll take a strand of hair from one of the guests, a willing volunteer, take a strand of hair and hold this termite mound to that strand of hair, and they actually pinch it and break the strand of hair so quickly, so sharp, just a little pinch, and it breaks the strand of hair. Look at that, wonderful. I'm going to put him back. Off you go. He doesn't want to leave me alone now. There we go. So they're all up at the entrance at the moment. That's really great. I love seeing these little creatures too. It's wonderful. And you can talk about these for hours. You can spend hours watching. It's very, very fascinating. And also to see, sorry, I'm struggling at the moment. Also just to see all the other animals and the other activity that's around here. Scorpion holes, and obviously find the remains of a scorpion. We've got a question from Consulting Detective. You'd like to know what causes termites to leave their termite mound. So usually, what I've read is that if the water table, I'm just dropping the scorpion exoskeleton here. I actually like to keep it because it looks beautiful. So usually what it is probably a drop in the water table, and availability of food around that termite mound could possibly cause them to eventually move off. Now, and I say a drop in water table, so they do need a lot of moisture, and if there isn't moisture around, they would probably go and try and find a new area to set up a new colony. Brent says he's a little bit tired at the moment, so he's just going to rest for a while. I'm joking. He's struggling with signal, everyone on Cheetah Plains. We know it is tricky there at times. So he's stuck with me, I'm afraid. I'm sorry. Let's see what else we can find. See what else we can find. Oh, am I seeing things? It's a dove at the top there, but always beautiful to see a little dove. Cape turtle dove, or the Cape ringneck dove. Beautiful, beautiful little bird. So I think what I might do this morning, because we've been having so much luck with it, we've been speaking about many different homes for animals. So we've seen the little snail shell, which we know some other little creatures would use once if the snail has died and moved off. And that beautiful termite mound, and how different animals use a termite mound as a home. So let's see what other homes we can find, and possibly some nests. And I'm trying to have a look here in this tree, this beautiful marula tree. Doesn't seem to be, I don't seem to see any nests around here at the moment. But what a beautiful tree. And actually, if I just reverse a little bit here, you can see this, and if there's a part of this tree that a branch is broken off, and there's a dead section of branch over there, and you can see that in the middle of the screen now, and you can see little holes. Now you'd get beetles and borer beetles and that would go in there, and also other animals like perhaps a rock monitor, because and I say that because I'm assuming that on the other side, or going into the log of this branch, there's definitely an entrance or two that these big monitor lizards can use. See, there's a nice big gap there, and I wouldn't be surprised if animals like monitor lizards could go in there. Little snakes, definitely snakes would go and use these dead branches that have hollowed out slightly. I'll use them. Birds, you get the barbets. What else? What other birds? A few different species. Hornbills, perhaps, using a little slit in the tree as a nest. So all these little openings, and there's another hole up there that Jean spotted. Something like that would become a wonderful home for either birds or lizards or snakes or other reptiles. It's incredible to see these little things. You just find out where these little homes are. And you know, one of the homes that I find fascinating, I'll see if I can find one, is the community nest spider web. And let's see if we can find one of those. I'd love to show you one of those. I'll look very, very carefully. It's a thick spider web with a number of spiders inside it. Just still scanning, checking the road for tracks, any potential tracks we might want to follow. So we're constantly looking for everything. I'm trying to see if there are any bird nests, big bird nests around. Lindsay, you wanted to know how can we tell the remains between a scorpion, if it's just the remains or if it's a shed. And Lindsay, this definitely looked like it was crushed, so it does look very different to the shedding of a skin or exoskeleton. And the way it was broken up and spread out, it didn't look like a shed. Often shedding of an exoskeleton or anything could potentially be the exoskeleton will still be quite whole. So that was definitely the remains of something, or the remains of a scorpion that has been eaten. Can hear a little bird calling. It's called a long-billed crombeck. It's just up ahead. Let's see if we can find a tiny little bird though. Not easy to spot either. Oh. That's it calling. Can you hear that? My bird calls again are not very good. Let's see if I can find it. And they are tiny little birds, everyone. And we're looking at this beautiful thick tree. That big tree is a torchwood. Now, torchwood or green thorn, a beautiful tree and very interesting stem. Have a look at that. It looks like a number of stems all intertwined and woven around each other, and then the tree grows up, spreads out, and it has got very sharp thorns on it, hence the name the green thorn. And the torchwood, it gets its name from the torchwood because apparently, and I know one or two of us have tried it before and we haven't been lucky, but the seed pods apparently contain an oil, and if you are able to drain some of that oil out, you can use it as a lighter fluid, perhaps to help start a fire. This crombeck is hiding from us, everyone. I can't find it, but this torchwood is a beautiful thick tree and ideal for bird nests, and that probably protect the nests from predators like other birds or snakes that aren't able to get in through these spiky branches very easily. Beautiful tree. Anyway, we are going to continue on our drive in search for homes, elephants, lions, leopards, everything. But while I do that, Jamie is out on her bushwalk this morning. Let's head over to her and get a good morning and see what her plan is.
And a very good morning to all of you, and welcome to our on-foot portion of the Sunrise Safari. My name is Jamie, and this morning I have Eggsy on camera with me, also actually known as Zander, but we all call him Eggsy. And of course, the ever-present Herbie, making sure that we don't go wandering into something rather dangerous accidentally while I'm chattering away. Byron has mentioned that we're out on foot. Well, we actually haven't got all that far, because I was struck immediately as soon as we left the camp by the evidence that's been left right outside, and a very important message to all of us who live here. Oh, excuse me, the hay fever has struck this morning. Very important message to all of us who live here about the dangers of wandering around in the dark or after dark outside of the camp. And that's because we saw Karula yesterday wandering around the gardens, wandering around Yuri's garden, wandering around just outside our camp. Now we've got evidence that something much larger and a lot more dangerous has been wandering around outside of the DRC. Let's have a look at this. Most of you will recognize it for what it is, and it's also for those of you who sent through the updates about the hippo fight that occurred last night, or that you heard last night on the Djuma Dam. The hippo, whichever one it may have been, came through this way. So a hippo with its 4 toes, huge foot, absolutely massive foot to give you a sense of scale. And what's really cool about this track, I'm not sure how well it's going to show up, but you can actually see the sweeps from where it was dragging its snout on the ground, or dragging it just above the ground, and the bristles from the hair have actually left these lines in the ground. And I need to sneeze, I'm sorry. It's stuck. Okay, I think it's gone. And, of course, as hippos go about feeding, he's also dragged his toe here, which hippo do. You'll often see hippo tracks, they're a little lazy with the whole lifting of the foot thing, which I suppose I might be as well if I weighed 2 tons. So he's actually kicked the soil here, and then all along here is where he's been snuffling, and he's left all of the plant material that he's rejected while he's been feeding. So they're obviously not the cleanest of eaters. They snuffle along like little lawnmowers with the top lip, and they don't break off the grass with their teeth. They break it off, they rip it off with their lips, and as a result they often end up with sort of pulling out bits of grass that they then reject, essentially. So quite a cool way to start off our morning walk. We're not going to be looking for hippo on foot. That would be a very bad idea, especially if they've just had a little bit of a scuffle between the two of them, which is, of course, as Byron mentioned, very common in these drought situations. So we're just going to keep walking. By now, chances are... Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I gotta go back. We saw a genet yesterday, and I've just spotted the genet's tracks in the ground, and I mentioned just how tiny they are. So for those of you who missed the sunset safari, there was a genet on the top of a tree that had been chased up there by the leopards, and I mentioned that their track is really no larger than my thumbnail. Okay, maybe a slight exaggeration. It's a little bit larger than my thumbnail. That, believe it or not, this little thing, I don't know how clearly you can see it, Eggsy. Can you see it a little bit? There we go. That is a genet track. It's like a little mini civet track, or a little mini leopard track. A really tiny, beautiful, neat and unique little footprint. And this genet, well, I assume it's the same genet every night, probably is marking its territory like civets. This genet walks past the DRC each and every single day, as do these guys. It's our little family of bushbuck. It's actually the pair of bushbuck that almost walked into Karula yesterday. Actually it was the baby bushbuck, the little female, that realized that she was there. I love bushbuck. They're one of my absolute hands down favorite antelope, and they of course get very used to the presence of people, and they spend a lot of time around our camps and in our company. So it's something that we become very, very fond of. Hey little bushbookies. Yes. So this morning, Brent said we're going to be following up on Karula. We're going to be following up on Karula, I guess. That's exactly what we should be doing. We'll try and track down where he last had the tracks, and then we will see if we can't find her on foot. That might be something highly entertaining for us to do. I want to find Karula on foot. It's been a while since I've had that experience. See how relaxed the bushbuck are. They're not running away, they're just moving slowly but surely away from us. And that's also because in our body language, we're not trying to creep up on them. We're openly walking past them, so they don't need to be concerned. Do you, little ones? Aren't you gorgeous? So while we make our way to the last position of Karula's tracks, let's head over to Byron, who it seems as though this morning is doing very well with his birds.
Right, we've found another beautiful bird here, but this appears to be the female black-bellied bustard, everyone. I just had to double check and look very, very carefully, but it's the female black-bellied bustard. I was hoping she'd turn around to see the front, because they are obviously don't have a black belly at all. So it sometimes makes it difficult to identify them, because the red-crested coron looks quite similar, but this is a little bit larger. Black-bellied bustard is a little bit larger, and that behavior and the way she's walking, it's definitely a female black-bellied bustard. It's difficult with some of the females because they do look very, very similar. Some of the females, and very bland, brown in color. and not easy to identify. The males have got distinct markings, and it's easy to identify them, but not always the case with the females. I've spotted some beautiful antelope just off to the left. I'm hoping they decide to come out. Some wonderful inyala. Just moving through the thicket feeding. Oh, they are wonderful. They're beautiful antelope. See, it just shows you. We actually stopped to look at the bird, and then spotted these inyala walking around. Those are the females. That's a young male coming through there now. And it's incredible how the color changes between the males and the females when they get older. When the males reach maturity, they go this beautiful dark gray. There's another young male. I can just see the start of the horns. See that at the back? There we go. See the little horns coming through. But you see, when they are young, they're the same color as the females, and then as they get older, the color does change and they become a lot darker. And they go this grey coloration, still with the white markings on the body, just not as clear as these beautiful reddish brown females with those white stripes moving down the body. And Yala are generally very relaxed antelope. It's incredible. And often you find them in these areas around the lodges. You do see Inyala coming through on a regular basis. And I think one of the reasons is because it's nice and thick, and there's good vegetation and water around a lodge. So these Inyala are happy to move through, and guests get to walk right past them at times, and they're not fazed at all. Some of you might be sitting at home thinking, well, these look a lot like our deer. And they do look a little bit like deer, but they are in the antelope family. We do not have any deer out here. Again, the difference just between antelope and deer, the main difference is that deer grow antlers, which are shed annually, whereas antelope grow horns, and the horns do not shed. They grow throughout the lifetime or the lifespan of the antelope. So that is the main difference. So we don't have any deer out here. And originally we didn't have any deer in Africa. However, there have been some species that have been introduced over the years. And we've got a species of, it looks like they're going to cross the road. There we go. We have got a species of deer down in this southeastern part of South Africa, known as fallow deer, which I believe came from the UK, and they were introduced. But up in these natural areas, there's no deer occur here at all. Oh dear, no deer. Maybe it's too early for my jokes. Oh, it's wonderful watching them, just their tails flicking. Well, we're going to leave these Inyala, allow them to enjoy their morning walk and breakfast. While we do that, let's head back to Jamie. She's on quarantine now. See what she's got up there.
I hear that Byron has been looking at all sorts of animal homes, particularly in terms of the slightly
Well, we're back on Djuma. Unfortunately, there seems to be a technical issue with the Cheetah Plains repeater. We're on Twin Dams, and we lost a bit of time in our bird challenge, but we're on it again with another nice common species, an Egyptian goose. Here we go, VM's got it now. Hello, Goosey. But don't worry, we haven't given up. And also, I've let Herbie and Jamie know where Karula's last tracks were. And we're going to go bird in that general vicinity as a good plan, I think. Oh, coming in high, Vim. What do we got? That looks interesting. Ah, black-bellied bustard. Is it? It is. There we go. You can see now while it's flying why it's called the black-bellied bustard. Now we can hear a black cuckoo calling. There's more black-bellied bustards flying, Vim, coming towards us. And they are indeed. There we go. Another one for the list. Let's keep it growing. Remember, hashtag Safari Live or questions at WildEarthTV. If you've got any questions about birds, bees, mammals, reptiles, amphibians, trees, flowers, grass, soil, rocks, history, whatever you would like. So we're going to move slowly north along the edge of the Mulwati River and see what wonderful things we can find. So what we're really looking for at the moment is what we call a bird party. Now, a bird party is a group of birds of different species that generally forage together. They're quite often foraging for different things. Now, when we were off air yesterday, I spotted a very, very cool bird in this area, and they are quite residential. So I'm hoping that we get a chance to spot it again. It's just in this little dip. Oh, let's get the boring ones out of the way. Well, I suppose they're not boring, they are still beautiful, but the more common species. Here we go. There's the ring-necked dove. And here he is. Foraging for seeds. Can hear ground hornbills in the distance. Can hear Franklin, black cuckoo. Okay. Now I've got some very disturbing news and some very good news that happened last night. And the first, what do you think, VM? Good or bad news first? Let's get the bad news first. So, Jors, as many of you might know from his pictures on Facebook and that, has property in Buffelshoek. So after we lost Tingana and he moved into Buffelshoek last night, Jors found him and he unfortunately killed a female leopard. Tingana killed Shaluva 2005. Apparently broke her back. So very, very sad, and as soon as I get more information on that, I will update you. But on a happier note, very good news. There was reports that Tundi had lost her second cub. She hasn't. It was seen yesterday afternoon on the Sunset Safari, so Tundi's cub is well. Now, this is the spot where I saw a very impressive male paradise flycatcher yesterday. I'm hoping he's still around. They tend to be around an area quite commonly because they nest in these little areas like this along the edges of little riverbeds. But let's keep moving. Hopefully we're going to find some incredible birds and maybe Queen Karula as well. But while we do that, I think Jamie and Herbie might be fresh on Queen Karula's tracks.
We've taken a brief break from our search for Karula, and since Brent is on his way, we'll be able to sort of give him a hand in terms of walking through the bush and hopefully finding the Queen of Djuma. But until we get to that particular point, since we are on quarantine, the amount of things on quarantine is slowly getting better, because initially quarantine was like a sort of a desert wasteland at one point. There was just no grass, there were no plants, the trees were still around, but other than that it was almost desolate during the dry season. But luckily we've had the rains and things are starting to come out once again. And so, talking about homes and places where animals live, this is a perfect example of a burrowing scorpion's home. So in all scorpion holes in the ground, they are completely laterally flattened. In other words, it's not a round hole like it might be for something like a rodent. It is a completely flat hole, if that makes any sense. You can see the shape. It's very, very distinctive. Usually, when a scorpion hole is active like this, they constantly excavate around the entrance to their hole. So what they do is you find there are these little scrapes and dots in the soil around it, particularly this patch. And you can see this is where he's dug out. He's excavated his hole in this direction. Very often what you'll find with these scorpion holes is that they're eastern facing. This of course is a massive exception to that rule in that it's facing north, not east, but a lot of the time they do tend to face eastward-ish, because what often happens is the scorpions will move out into the sun and warm themselves a little bit before going to bed for the night. And then, as I said, you'll get little dots all around. Now, I don't think that this scorpion hole is active anymore. It doesn't look to me as though there's enough fresh excavation. What I'm going to do is just test that theory and just see whether or not anything grabs this piece of grass. It's called fishing for scorpions. Something we all used to do. I say all. Some of us used to do as a kid. Eggsy, did you fish for scorpions as a kid?
Oh, I caught snakes.
Caught snakes? Oh, that's not bad. Well done, Eggsy. No scorpion in there. Nobody's home. But we're going to carry on and look for the Queen of Djuma. See what we can find. One of the other things I'm looking for in terms of homes of the various animals is, of course, a baboon spider hole. Baboon spider is my favorite spider. I'm not sure if any of you have favorite spiders, but I have a favorite spider, and it's the baboon spider. The massive, basically the South African. See, now this looks fresher. Although birds walked on top of it. This is a fresher scorpion hole. Much. What is jumping there? Hold on a moment. Sorry, just heard some interesting sounds in the distance. I wonder what that was. Where's it gone? It's the tiniest grasshopper you've ever seen in your life. Where is it? No, it's gone now. Anyway, sorry, this looks far more freshly excavated, but with a bird track sitting right on top of it. So at some point last night, this scorpion came in, dug out a little bit, and moved back underneath the ground. So what will happen with these particular types of scorpions? A lot of the time they are the Opisthecampus, hay fever struck, the Opisthecampus species of scorpions, so there's all different types of them. What will often happen is they'll come out and they will go out and actively hunt for things that they can catch. So insects, particularly when you get termite explosions of all of the alates, the reproductive termites that come out, then these scorpions will emerge at night. They're strictly nocturnal and they'll go off in search of food. Oh, excuse me. Emily, you've asked a question on which I am now an expert. You wanted to know if you are stung by a scorpion, what should you do? Emily, it depends on what scorpion it is. So, The most dangerous one is the Arathusa scorpion, and that's the thick-tailed scorpion with very, very tiny pincers. But and that one is the most venomous, and you should think about seeking medical treatment if you've identified it as a Arathusa type scorpion, particularly when you're dealing with children, because children, of course, they're much smaller. They tend to have quite bad reactions. So it's not a rush like it would be with a black mamba, but you should definitely seek out medical treatment. Anything other than the Arathusa scorpion, so like the one that stung me, which was the Europlectes, one of the Europlectes species, not the really nasty one, but a thick-tailed scorpion. If you are stung by one of them, or even a thin-tailed scorpion, which I have been stung by before, it burns. It burns like a really, really bad wasp sting. So what you've got to do, you've got two options. You can stick ice on it, and that actually helps to relieve the pain, and hold the ice there. And I promise you, you will hold the ice there. You will, because as soon as you take it off, it starts to burn again. The other really important thing to do with a scorpion sting is don't panic. So some of the venom is neurotoxic, so what it starts to do, it's not serious enough to kill a person, but it does make you feel very anxious. It starts to make you feel a little bit uncomfortable in yourself. Don't panic, it's normal, it'll go away. You keep the ice on it, and I'm clutching my hand because that's where it stung me. It fell out of the roof and then somehow blamed me and stung me. Fell out of the roof onto my hand and stung me. I took great offense to that, just by the way. But ice, or you've got another alternative. The venom is protein-based, which means it can be broken down by warm temperatures. Basically, you denature the proteins within the venom. So you can stick your hand into almost boiling water. But there's a disclaimer to that. It hurts, because that venom is obviously acting 10 times faster before it is denatured. So it hurts a great deal more. So the ice is probably your best bet. Ice relieves the pain, and you can keep it there. You just keep replacing the ice pack depending on what scorpion stung you, and you just keep replacing it for a couple of hours. The next day your hand is going to, wherever it stung you, it's going to tingle, it's going to burn. You get pins and needles up and down the sting site, and then by the next day, most species of scorpion, you're done, you're fine, you are absolutely fine. I'm just coming to have a look at our termite mound here, see whether there's any sign of dwarf mongoose. No sign of them, and I'm sneezing away. And Shamsun, you say a spoon of local honey will help to relieve the allergies. I have to find some local honey, Shamsun, because I eat honey on a very regular basis, and I also put it in my tea and coffee and so on. But unfortunately, I don't think the honey that we get is fully local, and I think that James would kill me if I went and tried to collect honey from his stingless bees inside the giraffe skull. While we continue on to go and help Brent look for Karula, let's head over to Byron and see what he's up to.
And we've got a beautiful bird sitting in this tree, a juvenile Batelea or immature Batelea eagle. Wonderful, wonderful birds. And it's been a great morning for birding so far. We did see a cuckoo earlier, a Levalin's cuckoo. Unfortunately, it flew away just before we could show you, as most cuckoos do. You can see a very distinct pose of the Batelea. The tail feathers, you can actually see the tail feathers hanging out. Sorry, not the tail feathers, the wing feathers. And the tips of the wings hanging out just below the back of that that stump that it's sitting on. And the Batelea has got an incredibly short tail, so you don't often see the tail feathers sticking out, but those are the wing tips that you can see folded underneath the Batelea. Jamie was saying she needs to find some honey for her hay fever. Well, Jamie, I wonder if that honey guide isn't around perhaps. Maybe you need to follow it and try and get some honey from that bird. Helped us yesterday. Lovely to see these eagles. Do enjoy seeing eagles around, these large birds of prey. It's amazing how the color changes with these Bateleas. It takes, I think it's about 6 or 7 years, if I'm not mistaken, for them to reach adult plumage. That beautiful black and white coloration with the bright red face. Sorry, Jandre, I just thought I saw another bird there. I'm not sure. Is that an African hawk eagle? Oh, no. It looks like a tawny eagle. Just in the left of the tree. Looks like a tawny eagle, everybody. Yeah. Sitting up there now. I wonder. And what I'd like to do is I actually want to go and have a look there, and I'll tell you why. Is because these tawny eagles and the Bateleur eagles are in fact scavengers. So they do scavenge off certain carcasses. If they do see something, they will try and get there before the vultures do, and especially this time of year, when you start getting a lot of impala births and you have that afterbirth lying on the ground, it's not unusual to find these birds of prey hanging about trying to get some food. So let's just have a look around here. I don't see any impala or anything yet, but I'm just thinking perhaps there could be something around here that they are interested in feeding on. Because to have both species in trees just a few meters away from each other, there's a good chance that there could be something around here. Wow, look at this beautiful Bateleur. That's a wonderful pose. Wow. And I'm just scanning around. I don't see anything. No sign of impala or lambs or carcass or an afterbirth or anything like that just yet. Look at that beautiful head of the Bateleur, and you can see those feathers often puffed out, especially with the wind blowing. And it gives this Bateleur this beautiful, just the shape of the head looks much larger because those feathers always get. Oh, there it goes. And as it flies off, we'll continue our search for little impala, perhaps. Who knows? Let's head back to Brent. I think he has got a hippo.
I wonder if this is one of the hippos who was involved in last evening's altercations. Difficult to say, but in Cheetah, so not in one of the dams, actually in Cheetah, which is still holding a nice semi-deep patch of water. And look at that. Got a very torn ear there. And look at that, just go to his eyes quickly then. I wonder what that mucus buildup is from. Doesn't look very comfortable. It might have got an injury to the eye. Oh well. I'll leave the hippo to rest up in the muddy water of Cheetah. Now, I know a lot of you are probably wondering a bit more about the Tingana Shaluva situation. And why would a male leopard kill a female? Now, there's a couple of different options. Shamsung was one thing, and it's impossible for us to know exactly. We weren't there, so we can speculate a little bit. And let's move forward a little bit. So generally when a male leopard kills a female leopard, the main reason is because she's protecting cubs. Now, I spoke to yours, who was very upset last night about that, because he sees that Shaluva female a lot around his camp, and he said she did look like she was pregnant, so that could be another possibility. Also, when Tingana goes into that area, it's probably a high conflict zone. Djuma, Mvula, Tingana all utilize that sort of area. That sort of seems to be the boundary. Where is that? There it is. There we go, another one for the bird list while we keep chatting. The southern black tit. Come on, give us a call. But yeah, so it's probably something. Oh, he's off again. Probably something to do with the conflict, and as I said, it's nearly impossible for us to guess. But I would probably say maybe she had cubs, maybe she was pregnant, and that's the reason why. Oh, top of the same tree, different bird. Oh, there we go, a little bit up. Hello, another rattling testicular. We've got one of them already for the day. But it is very sad, but again, we must remember that so much stuff happens that we don't know about, and it's I don't know, it's one of those strange ones. But I probably think it could be because she was pregnant. Maybe he could smell something in her urine, but a very sad thing indeed. And as I said, as soon as we get more information on it, we'll definitely keep you filled in. Oh, sounds like a good bird party up ahead. You can hear a somber greenbill calling. Now, come on birdies, be next to the road. Ah, yes, Judy H. Right, indeed, we had a bit of technical difficulties when I was telling you about the Brew Shrike. I'd seen a Brew Shrike, I had Brew Shrike on the mind, and as it flew away and as I linked, I realized I'd made a mistake. Well, the one we looked at was a puffback shrike. The Brew Shrike had already gone off, so still one for the list, but of course not the one we're looking for, so we've still got a Brew to find. All the birds seem to be far away from the road today, but I'm going to head up towards one of my birding hotspots slowly, and around Vuyatela access. I've seen red-headed weaver and all sorts in that area. It is such a stunning morning. I just wish we could find a few more birds. Remember, this is live, so hashtag Safari Live or questions at WildEarthTV if you want to ask us any questions. Now I want to go have a look